Hey friends, this is Jordan with O&Co Games. We're a tiny indie team who created TetherGeist, a challenging precision platformer where you can split and rejoin with your ghost in several ways as you explore a Ghibli-inspired pixelated world through a heartfelt story about disability, perseverance, and acceptance versus transactional faith. It's a challenging game, but if our Steam reviews mean anything, it's a challenge that's well worth your time. So check it out on Steam or Switch and leave us a review if you like it. So TetherGeist has been out for about a month now, and I only have a couple of topics left to cover before concluding this devlog series. It's kind of bittersweet. I've been making videos for this series since July of 2023, and so many of you have been along for the journey since the beginning. It's been a wonderful experience. I've learned so much along the way, but I'll admit I'm also excited for the next chapter of this channel. Got lots of exciting things coming. Anyway, in this video, I want to talk about everything we did for our go-to-market strategy for TetherGeist so we could give it its best chance at reaching the most amount of people in our target audience as possible. We launched with over 20,000 wish lists, got onto the popular upcoming list on Steam, and even spent something like 16 hours on the new and trending list. We worked with an indie game marketing company called Indie Pups, and let me tell you, there is so much I learned from them about marketing an indie game, including discovering some of my biggest mistakes prior to teaming up with them. Mistakes I'm definitely not going to make on my next game. So in this video, I'm going to peel back the curtain and show you everything so you can see what it's like from a marketing standpoint to ship a game and work with industry professionals along the way. So first, how did we even find Indie Pups? For anyone who's unaware, we signed on with a funding partner in 2025 called the Almost Ready Games Fund, also known as ARGF. I love these guys, by the way. And as part of our strategy with them, we allocated a good amount of our budget to marketing. ARGF sent out a request for proposals to several indie game marketing companies. In their request, they outlined that we needed a marketing partner who would lead strategic GTM planning and campaign execution, act as the main marketing driver, coordinate closely with us at O&Co Games for content, and develop and manage go-to-market activities such as influencer outreach, storefront optimization, showcase applications, etc. We got 9 proposals back, and in each of them, the companies explained how they would offer the services we'd be requesting, along with a timeline and price quote. Some of the companies were clearly a bad match, either because their offering wasn't aligned or their price tag was just too high. We initially narrowed it down to 4 companies, then the O&Co team, Noah, Ray, and myself, interviewed each of them over web calls. We eventually landed on one that had a great portfolio and felt like a good fit for the team. We worked with them for about a month, but throughout the process, we just felt like we kept getting put on the back burner with them. They had other big projects that were taking off at the time, and while they fulfilled their end of the contract with us, we just never felt like we really got their full attention and buy-in. We ran one marketing beat with them, and it just radically underperformed. Not to mention, we kind of had to do a lot of the legwork ourselves anyway. It's a bit of a bummer, I'll be honest, but I don't really harbor any hard feelings for them either. Hence, I'm not calling them out in this video. I don't want to ruin their reputation or anything. I still believe they're good at what they do. They just weren't a good match for us, and it was clear we needed to shop around for another marketing partner. Now, this was all happening in October of 2025, and at the time, ARGF was working with another game called Insider Trading. Perhaps you've heard of it. Indie Pups had been working on Insider Trading, and they were just doing a fantastic job with it, so ARGF pointed them in our direction. They had gotten our previous request for a proposal earlier that fall, but at the time, they didn't apply because they were already booked, and they didn't want to commit to a project with us if they weren't going to be able to give it their full attention. At this point, we were in the market again for a marketing company, so they submitted their own proposal along with a couple other firms we were reconsidering. Yet again, we went through a round of meetings with each marketing company, and when we met with Ashley from Indie Pups, it was like a breath of fresh air. She had already come prepared with a lot of strategic suggestions specifically for us, and just clearly understood our game's vision and goals. She shared with us their strategy for TetherGeist, answered several of our questions expertly, and cleared a lot of the smoke around how the Steam algorithm works, where we specifically sat in the landscape of it all, and how we could leverage Steam analytics to optimize our game's page. In just an hour, she had already provided as much value to us as our last marketing partner did in a month, and we hadn't even signed on with them yet. She also clarified a lot about how they'd be handling applying for showcases and their approach for influencer outreach. Throughout the whole meeting, the biggest selling point for me was just how authentic Ashley was. She listened super intently to all of our concerns and had genuinely expert responses to all of them. She didn't candy coat areas where we would face challenges, but she also provided clarity in areas we would really shine. I could tell from the beginning that they would be putting their best foot forward with us. I knew we'd be in good hands. After the call, Noah, Ray, and myself chatted a bit, and we all felt fantastic about them, so we signed on. Once we were official, Indie Pups got to work on their marketing plan document. They went through a few iterations, checking in with us along the way to make sure we were all aligned. It's a pretty big document, and there are a lot of proprietary strategies in it that I won't be sharing publicly, but to give you an idea of just how thorough it was, it includes general strategies for positioning and messaging TetherGeist, a clearer definition of our target audience, a list of key marketing beats we would be leveraging prior to launch. This is where the real meat is. Specific plans for how to optimize our Steam page, how we'd be approaching our specific launch strategy, including timing, influencer outreach, continual Steam page optimization, press outreach, and events and awards. And then of course, all of that is organized into a timeline. From January until we launched in May, they worked like crazy to get us into as many showcases as possible, including several where we actually won awards, like being a finalist in tons of categories for Gamescom LATAM, winning the Wings Award, and being one of the final nominees for NeoWiz Indie Quest, and making it into the official selection of Game Maker's Sketchbook in 2026. We have a Discord chat with Indie Pups, and every week we'd get several messages from them as they applied to countless showcases, managed several of our accounts, and shared exciting news as we gained traction. Throughout the whole process, we also had several pretty big marketing beats, like our announcement for the Switch port, our release date announcement, and then of course our actual launch date. Once we got closer to launch and had our full game ready, they blasted out TetherGeist to all of their press contacts and hundreds of content creators. Thanks to their efforts, we ended up getting reviews from Nintendo Life, TechRaptor, and several smaller press outlets that all had fantastic things to say about TetherGeist. Beyond that, we got a lot of content creators to feature TetherGeist, and of course, we got great coverage from our exposure on Steam's homepage. So, with all of our efforts, both from Indie Pups and O&Co Games, we ended up launching with 20,467 wish lists, and we were on the new and trending list for about half a day. The million-dollar question is, was it worth it? And how much of that could we have done on our own without the help from a marketing company? It's a bit of a tricky question since we can't cleanly separate numbers into buckets, but I can tell you what hypothetically would have happened if we didn't team up with Indie Pups. First off, our Steam page would have sucked, and don't get me wrong, it would still have looked nice and been presentable, but we wouldn't have optimized the content on it nearly as well as we did. Leading up to launch, Indie Pups continued to experiment with different messaging, screenshots, GIFs, etc., just to see which content had the highest conversion rates. You know, like which content had the highest likelihood of converting a Steam page visit into a wish list. And then now, of course, converting Steam page visits into purchases. We also wouldn't have gotten into all of the showcases that we did. Granted, we could have applied to all of them ourselves, but our applications wouldn't have been as compelling, and we wouldn't have gotten into nearly as many. Not to mention, taking the time to do it ourselves would have cut into development time. We also wouldn't have been covered by virtually any press outlets. Now, a lot of that falls under a category I would call legwork. It's stuff we technically could have done ourselves, but taking the time would have severely impacted our development timeline, and honestly, TetherGeist would still be in development today. It's a ton of work. But obviously, Indie Pups provided so much more than just busy work. They made sure that whatever legwork they were doing was also walking in the right direction, and sometimes that direction is really tricky to find. It's kind of like trying to make it through a dense jungle without getting lost. Indie Pups, they're experts who know how to navigate that jungle. When we signed on with them, we had about 15,000 wish lists, largely from this devlog series and a bit from things like Next Fest and conventions. That took us about 2.5 years to get to that wish list count. Then in 6 months, we had grown to 20,000 wish lists. And to be clear, it's from our combined marketing efforts. I still did a lot of uploading here on YouTube, but they basically handled everything else. So I think working with Indie Pups was absolutely worth it. They not only drastically moved the needle for us, but they taught me personally just so much along the way that I'll be able to apply in future games. We made so many mistakes prior to working with them, from messing up our Steam page launch, to timing our Next Fest wrong, to cannibalizing our Steam review engine by using Kickstarter. There's just a ton of stuff I would do so differently now that I know what I know. And sorry, I'm not going to get into all of that in this video. As far as working with Indie Pups goes, it's like adding nitrous oxide to your car with a professional driver in the passenger seat guiding you along the way. You're still in the driver's seat, but you go way faster, and you have an expert there making sure you don't hit turns incorrectly and making sure you don't drive off of a cliff or something. Granted, all of that does cost money, and we had the luxury of having a funding partner to front the cost. But Indie Pups' price was extremely reasonable, and they even worked beyond their original quote just to make sure they did right by us and set us up for success leading up to launch. Not to mention, like, we're legitimately good friends now. I love Indie Pups. Okay, with all of that said, you might rightly be asking, well, did TetherGeist sell enough copies? The answer is a complicated sort of. Our reviews are crazy good. We made a really good game, but our numbers are pretty low, especially considering how many mouths TetherGeist needs to feed. Our team is small, but once you account for localization, porting, and marketing, our debts are high. So my next and likely final devlog video is going to get into all of the messy details of that. TetherGeist is in a very challenging genre to market. It's not a trendy incremental game like Clover Pit, Insider Trading, or a game about feeding a black hole. It doesn't cater to a larger audience like party-based PvE games such as Peak or GTFO, and it doesn't have some sort of radically attention-grabbing hook like Deada's Disco or Skate Story. Instead, TetherGeist leans very heavily on being really good at classic game design principles. Responsive movement, intuitive level design, satisfying gameplay, all wrapped into a pretty darn challenging experience overall. Sure, we have a unique movement system that no other game has, and our story and characters are uniquely our own, but when you peel back the layers, TetherGeist is pure, unadulterated precision platforming. These games are rare, largely because they're hard to make well and arguably harder to market. In that light, Indie Pups did a fantastic job with a challenging genre. We also know that the audience exists. I mean, look at Celeste, but it's a smaller niche, and in turn, it's harder to find our players and harder for them to find us. But when they do, they know they've found something special. And I'm not just saying that to feed my own ego, it's legitimately the trend we're seeing. Anyway, if you're into challenging 2D precision platformers like Celeste, Super Meat Boy, or Ori and the Blind Forest, I'm pretty confident you'll love TetherGeist as well. It's been my team's labor of love for over 4 years. We have literally cried, cheered, and had all of the emotions over this game. And in the end, we're just grateful and proud of what we've been able to make. If any of this looks interesting to you, head over to Steam or Switch, play TetherGeist, and leave us a review if you like it. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.